Hello, you're watching Shalom World News. I'm Donna Villa coming to you from Chicago, USA. Here are the latest headlines from around the world. The Holy Father Pope Francis has slammed the sinister, quote, attempts to rewrite history without caring to understand the times in which people lived, end quote. While addressing diplomats of 183 nations accredited to the Vatican on Monday, January 10th, the pontiff took cudgels at the, quote, cancel culture prevalent today, warning that it is a sort of one-track thinking that attempts to silence important voices, end quote. Pope Francis said that such a culture is invading several circles and public institutions. He added that under the pretext of protecting diversity, the cancel culture cancels all sense of identity. The pontiff also criticized the baseless information about the coronavirus vaccine and urged governments to continue their efforts to get people vaccinated. Catholics in Sri Lanka will commemorate the 1,000th day of the deadly Easter Sunday attacks by taking part in a national prayer of supplication. The event will be held on January 14th, 10 a.m. at the National Basilica of Our Lady of Lanka at Tewatta under the auspices of Cardinal Ranjith of Colombo, seeking truth and justice for the victims. According to Bishop Anton Ranjith, the auxiliary bishop of Colombo Archdiocese, the prayer event carries the theme of Lord, let my cry come to you. During a recent online seminar with Sri Lankan expatriates in Europe, the Cardinal reiterated his suspicions about the electoral considerations during the presidential polls leading to the Easter Sunday terrorist attack on April 21, 2019, that left more than 200 dead and scores injured. The Greek Orthodox patriarch of Jerusalem has decried the attempts of radical fringe groups to eliminate the Christian presence in the Old City. In an op-ed in the Times, Patriarch Theophilus III said churches are under threat from Zionist extremists who indulge in hate crimes and acts of vandalism. The top prelate said churches are vandalized on a regular basis and priests are subjected to intimidation frequently, adding that the radicals are not representatives of the State of Israel or Jewish community. The patriarch said that those fringe outfits are trying to occupy two big buildings at the Jaffa Gate area on the road to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, which is built on the spot where Jesus was crucified and buried and resurrected. Theophilus III said that by trying to eliminate Christians, the radicals are posing a big threat to Jerusalem itself. As the coronavirus infections surge across the Philippines, President Rodrigo Duterte has urged Catholics to pray to the Black Nazarene, which is one of the most revered sacred images in the country. It is a 17th century statue of Christ bearing the cross taken out in procession yearly on January 9th in Manila, where millions of devotees take part. However, this year, the festivities were canceled following the surge in infections. On January 9th, the nation recorded 28,700 new cases of COVID-19, taking the total number of infections to 2,965,447. The president said that the transfer of the sacred image from its place in Intramuros to the shrine of Quiapo is a time of each devotee to understand the value of suffering and its saving grace. 6 Christians were murdered by Muslim extremists in Kenya recently. It is suspected that Islamist militants from Somalia are behind the killing of 6 believers on January 3rd in Wdiho in coastal Kenya's Lamu County. The militants, some of whom were dressed in the outfit of Al-Shabaab militant group, torched a shop, killing 3 Christians who were holding a prayer service inside. They then killed another Christian, Mwangi Maina, who had been a Muslim for some time, after accusing him of apostasy. After beheading him, they burned down his house. The militants also set ablaze the houses of 2 other Christians who perished in the flames. It is alleged that Muslims in the locality were alerted about the impending attacks and they moved elsewhere for safety. Cardinal Timothy Dolan of New York visited the site of the devastating blaze in the Bronx on Monday, January 10th, to assess the extent of the tragedy, explore ways to help those who have been affected. The blaze that broke out in a 19-story building in the Fordham Heights neighborhood on Sunday claimed at least 19 lives, including 9 children. Dozens of people suffered injuries. Around 200 firefighters struggled for hours to bring the fire under control. According to initial reports, the fire was caused by a faulty space heater, and the open doors in the building caused the flames and smoke to spread. Officials said the building lacked a sprinkler system and fire exits. Pope Francis has sent his condolences to the families of the victims of the horrific fire and entrusted all who are affected to the merciful love of Almighty God. Hungary's constitutional court has rejected all claims against a proposed referendum on child protection law that concerns parental rights over the education of their wards. With the top court dismissing all claims, all hurdles have been cleared for the plebiscite. President János Áder now has 15 days to fix the date for the vote, and it must be held within 3 months. Aimed at protecting children from the LGBTQ agenda, the Hungarian parliament had passed an amendment on the child protection law in June last year. The new amendment prohibits materials promoting homosexuality and gender change in schools and seeks parental consent for holding sexual orientation workshops in educational schools. The government of Prime Minister Viktor Orban staunchly supports the traditional family and Christian values. The communist authorities in China have indicted about 20 lawyers and activists for the gathering at a seaside town in 2019 to discuss the human rights movement in the country facing oppression. 2 key participants, Su Zhouyong and Ding Shizi, are awaiting trial on charges of subversion and could face years in prison. After President Xi Jinping came to power, several journals, research organizations, and groups sustaining independent-minded activists in China have been dissolved. Another attendant, Liu Xifang, an amateur musician and teacher, was lucky to escape to the U.S. when the police began detaining those who took part in the gathering. However, the police prevented his wife from traveling to the U.S. There are reports that several others who took part in the meeting spent months in detention before being released pending trial. And those are your latest headlines. Do join us tomorrow. In the meantime, you can visit swnews.org for more updates. Shalom.